Mick Abel just sent a serious message in his MLB debut, proving that he is here for the big show a little more than many had given him credit. The former number one overall pick had been written off in the Phillies prospect line, but is proving there is a bit more to him than many had expected. I want to break down how this could have the Phillies be rethinking their game plan for what to do with the former top prospect and sort of the pathways to him earning an opportunity to this point. Now, before I dive fully into things, do want to remind you guys, as always, to make sure you are hitting that subscribe button. At this point in time, just 26% of you guys watching these videos have subscribed to us here at Phillies Digest just yet. We're just buckling up for the home stretch of the season. Got a lot more baseball and a lot more storylines to break down. So want as many people a part of the Phillies Digest family as possible. Now, the story of today is absolutely the performance by Mick Abel yesterday. Now, we know the story with Aaron Nola heading to the injured list and them needing a spot starter here, and former number one overall prospect Mick Abel was given the chance here. Now, he could not have performed any better if you had asked, with his final stat line coming in exactly at here. 6 innings pitched, 5 hits allowed, 9 strikeouts. It tied Kurt Schilling for the most in a Phillies debut. Really impressive stuff, and frankly, like the stuff that he has as far as pitchability looked even nastier than those numbers indicated. And to give a little bit more depth on that, our very own Luke Arcaney tweets out a clip of every strikeout that he did have. 9 strikeouts, 5 of them on the curveball, 1 of them on the slider, 2 on the fastball, and 1 on the sinker. He didn't walk one batter all day, which is a huge story because that has been essentially the biggest issue that he's battled at the minor league level. Again, this has been a guy that has sort of fallen off the pipeline to the MLB, and frankly, I looked at today heading into the game, as this is a clear opportunity to showcase this guy and try and drive up the trade value. And boy, did he do an excellent job of that, but the way that he pitched has me rethinking that a little bit as well. Now, we did get a couple inside scoops from Destiny Luzardo, who I think does an excellent job covering this team for Phillies Nation. So did want to read a bit of her article from the post game here, and she starts off midway through saying, Abel, on the other hand, will take all the souvenirs he can get. The former Phillies first-round pick threw 6 shutout innings and tied Kurt Simmons' 1947 record for the most strikeouts by a Philly in his MLB debut. Quote, "It's a lot more than I could have expected," Abel said. Abel attacked the strike zone. He threw first strikes in all but 6 of the 22 batters he faced. He was badly squeezed at times by home plate umpire Derek Thomas, but was able to stay in his rhythm. Quote, "He slowed everything down today, stayed in the moment," Thomson said. "That's part of the experience and growing up. It's really good to see. I'm really happy for him." Abel had a 5-pitch mix going: fastball, curveball, slider, sinker, and changeup. He reached back for 99 miles per hour against the leadoff batter O'Neill Cruz in the first inning. Pirates hitter took 11 hacks at his curveball and missed 8 times. He did not allow an extra base hit or a walk. Quote, "I know our guys were talking about the depth of the curveball," Pirates manager Don Kelly said. "The way it was spinning and diving, to his credit, he came out firing strikes." Skeens and Abel had never met, but Skeens, who was 9 months younger than Abel, recalls playing against him in youth tournaments. Quote, "I was fired up to pitch against him," Skeens said. "I remember him being a guy in high school. The stuff is electric from what guys were saying coming back to the dugout. I'll probably rewatch this start and watch his next start. It's cool to pitch against him." And kind of a cool story for how that came together. And I also thought it was an awesome moment with just how much family that he had in the crowd. The camera was cutting to them constantly, of them going crazy. And I mean, striking out O'Neill Cruz in the first batter, his dad standing up going nuts. That's what sports is about, man. I thought that was a really awesome moment. And even down to after the game, Tom McCarthy bringing down the family, the signed scorecard from Mike Schmidt and John Kruk in the booth. It was a feel-good moment for the Phillies and for Mick Abel specifically, but I do think there are other implications to this as well. And to continue on a little bit deeper in Destiny's article here, she writes, "Maybe it's for the better that Abel is no longer the guy. After tumultuous seasons in AAA, where he posted a 6.46 ERA in 2024, Abel refreshed his mental approach to pitching. He once again looks like the top prospect he was, but without the added pressure that comes with it." Quote, "It took a lot of reflection," Abel said. "It took a lot of understanding who I am as a person and as a man. I think I've said this a lot. I think the biggest thing is redefining what my version of success is." His first major league outing was a win because the Phillies were able to do just enough against Skeens at the right time. Back-to-back singles from Nick Castellanos and Max Kepler in the 5th led to an opportunity for the Phillies to manufacture a run. Alec Boehm hit a shallow fly ball to center, but the next batter, Brandon Marsh, beat out a double play to score Castellanos. Skeens tied his career high with 22 swing and misses. He walked only one batter after allowing 11 free passes in his last 3 starts. It still wasn't enough, adding even more misery to an already dreadful Pirates season. He complimented the Phillies lineup he dominated. Quote, "That's the thing with these really elite lineups. There are no breaks," Skeen said. "When you're facing a lineup like that, it just has to be a focus and execution every time, every single pitch, because there are no breaks. Harper, Turner, Schwarber, Stott, all those guys. It's a good lineup." As the Pirates and Phillies board a flight to Philly, Abel will stay behind to celebrate the day with 24 of his closest family and friends. He's going back to the minors, but he knows what he's capable of at the big league level. Quote, "I want nothing more than to be back here," Abel said. So for starters in this perspective, I think we talk a lot about guys and write them off a bit too early as prospects. And for Mick Abel specifically here, this to me does look like a guy who has reinvented himself and found something within his game that I think with athletes in general, there's a lot more of it that has to do with up here than the actual play. That so many of these guys, you go through the ups and downs, you go through the highs and lows, and that's baseball to an extent. It is a game of failure, that you are going to have those down games, and it is more about how you are able to bounce back. And what I think Mick Abel is displaying is one of the most impressive bounce backs that we have seen from a player here. And by the way, everyone is taking notice of this. I did want to highlight this quote from Rob Thomson in the postgame. Once again, shout out to our very own Luke Arcaney, who was in the press box getting in these quotes here. And Topper said, quote, "For him to come up here in this atmosphere, 74% strikes, first pitch strikes, landing the breaking ball, just really grown up. He showed everything, slowed everything down today, and stayed in the moment. I'm really happy for him." Rob Thomson on Mick Abel's lockdown debut. And awesome stuff there all around. The problem when I get to all this is what is the pathway to Mick Abel actually earning an opportunity on this Phillies team? When you think about this stacked rotation that is already there, speaking of the Zack Wheelers, the Christopher Sanchez, Jesus Luzardo, who solidified his spot on this team, Ranger Suarez still floating around, Aaron Nola, we will see what the deal is with him, and the bigger story probably in all of this is the overhanging just situation with Andrew Painter here. We don't have a timeline for him. We don't know when his debut would be, but what was more telling to me in this entire situation is they are doing everything possible to keep on Andrew Painter's timeline. The Phillies needed a guy to step in and start today. They did not throw Taijuan Walker there. They did not call Andrew Painter up. They gave Mick Abel an opportunity. And why was that there? I do think this guy has earned the chance, and that is why they gave it to him. He's been pretty lights out in the minors this season, by far his best season at the minor league level, and that's something that is worth rewarding there. But there also is the possibility that this is just to strike up the trade value here. And this is further magnified following the news of Jose Alvarado obviously getting suspended for PEDs. Bullpen is back at the top of the priority list for this Phillies team as we begin to approach these deadline conversations. And while this is a good Phillies team, there is no way around this. They've won 15 of their last 20, 9 of their last 12 here. They are putting together consecutive impressive performances. But is this a team that we can honestly look ourselves in the mirror and believe this is a World Series contender? I'm not quite there just yet. And with that being said, we got to get there before this trade deadline does ultimately come and pass here. And I do wonder if Mick Abel starts to be one of those names that is floating around. Now, with all that being said, that is a guy that I'll be rooting for regardless here, and I'm still not counting out the chance that he could perform for this Phillies team. There's going to be some significant conversations behind the scenes moving forward here. A guy like Ranger Suarez is going to be a free agent, and frankly, I do think is going to be priced out of what the Phillies are going to be willing to pay him. I love Ranger. It will break my heart, but the writing on the wall, this is a crowded Phillies pitching staff. There also is still the possibility that injuries are always a factor here. We know Aaron Nola on the injured list right now. What if Christopher Sanchez's forearm issue that started at the beginning of the season does pop back up and you need guys to fill starts? That is a role that Mick Abel should be firmly on the table for. Frankly, he could not have pitched better today than even my wildest of expectations for what he could brought to the table. He far exceeded that in today's performance. So he absolutely made a statement with his play, and I do think there should be some conversations behind the scenes. Probably the biggest factors, and these are one that we are not privy to, is what is the exact timeline with Andrew Painter? What is the exact, I guess, their feelings on keeping this core together? We know that Zack Wheeler is locked up. We know that Aaron Nola was handed that significant contract there. Luzardo is a guy that they obviously went out and got with the belief that he can be a long-term part of this team. But Abel's still just 23 years old, man. This isn't a guy that is a, must get up now we can keep him around a little bit. That I think he's going to begin to fall into that category of that fringe major leagues kind of a guy that could bounce back and forth. So for Mick specifically here, shout out to him for seizing the moment, making the absolute most of it, and forcing this Phillies team to have some tough conversations. This is a much easier discussion if he did not look the part of a Major League Baseball player or pitcher on the mound today, but he absolutely did to the fullest extent. So I could not be more impressed with what Mick Abel brought to the table. I'm leaving the door open in my mind for a chance that you need to carve out a role for him on this Phillies team, whether that is pitching out of the bullpen, if that is an opportunity that he wants, if he's that hungry to get to the majors, if that is what his true intentions are, then give him a chance. That is now a spot where there is an opportunity for the taking there. I'm more open to having this flexibility between these starters and bullpen conversations than ever before. Think about how baseball is played nowadays, how few and far between it is that we see performances like Paul Skeens today, who, by the way, is the real deal to the fullest extent, where he went 8 innings, letting up just 1 run and pitched almost perfect. Again, they really had to manufacture that run, and Brandon Marsh is half a mile per hour slower. He's called out in the double play, and it's a 0-0 ball game heading into extra innings, maybe still playing at the time of me recording this tonight. So the point being here that I think there is a little bit more flexibility in roles that you can have with guys. We see it more and more common, particularly in a playoff setting, where guys get the opportunity where you're just going through the lineup one time. And for Mick Abel specifically, this was his first time for hitters to get a look at him as well. We also got to acknowledge that it gets harder when there is a book on you, when teams start to pick up on your tendencies and all of these conversations, but we don't got to go down to that path right now. For the moment, let's celebrate Mick Abel making the most of that he capitalized on his chance and is forcing this Phillies team to make some difficult decisions. So whether this was an effort to drive up his value, to create a trade market for the former top pick, or whether this was a legitimate tryout to see if he could earn a role on this real deal Phillies roster, he aced whatever test that was put in front of him there, and I do got to shout out him for that. So shout out to Mick Abel for making an absolute statement with this Phillies team, forcing them into hard decisions there. Do want to hear from you guys in the comments, your thoughts on the overall performance today, and if you are in Dave Dombrowski and Rob Thomson's shoes, what is the direction you would go with Abel specifically there? Appreciate you guys as always, and doing remind you guys one more time to make sure you are smashing that subscribe button here. At this point in time, 74% of you guys watching these videos have not subscribed to us here at Phillies Digest, so make sure we're running those numbers up, growing this Phillies Digest family as we begin to get into the real grind of this MLB season. The dust is settling. We're beginning to sniff out the pretenders and the contenders. The standings are taking place. I'm going to be breaking it all down right here. So appreciate you guys once again. Be back. Talk with you next time. Peace.